Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. I have a brand new guest on. Her name is Brenda Daniel. Her mother has been hidden for almost 1 year now, and December 23rd will be the mark of 1 year. And all this started back in 2004, and I welcome you to the show. Brenda, I'm really sorry this has happened. How did this all begin?
Sure. My family has not gotten along well for a period of time. It started in 2004 with the death of my oldest sister. She was hit by a drunk driver and she hadn't left a will. So, to my and my husband's thinking, whatever money was in the estate or available would be going to her grown children who were in their 20s. But the same four that are involved with this hiding of my mom now had different feelings about that, to the point that they wanted my parents to go in, retrieve the money for themselves versus their grandchildren, so that the money would eventually come back to themselves, the siblings versus the grandkids. And it wasn't something we thought seemed right. And we had a different opinion than them. And the money did go to my parents temporarily. They never wanted it. They kind of felt guided by my oldest sister. She's married to an attorney. Going into court, she kept saying, I might be sick. Can you drive me? I don't know if I want to go. She did go through with it. They didn't really want the money and they quickly returned it to the three children, my sister's three children. And they were happy to do it. That's what they wanted to do. And so those four against my husband and I had taken a different position, and that kind of sadly set us up for dysfunction and issues with any other family matter going forward.
Mm.
So we're not comfortable with each other anymore. I'm not trusting them anymore. And then you try to have periods where you're going to heal, or you hope you can have some semblance of a normal family. Didn't exactly get to that point. And then my dad in 2013 moves up to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and he's 83 at this point. And he went by choice. And of course, my husband and I want to maintain a relationship with him. So we're going up regularly. And then as he ages, he's going to need help, doctor's appointments, specialists. He got a couple procedures and surgeries. And my husband and I went with him, and I would spend the night here and there as needed. And we were hoping the rest of the family would help us, basically assume some, either support me, whether it's driving, going to the appointments, spending the night with me. Nobody was able to do that. So it was my husband and I pretty much left on our own to take care of him. And in a way, I'm grateful, because I really got to know him better those last number of years, because I had time with him.
Mhm.
So I'm grateful for that, but it was very difficult working full time, and it's a 4-hour trip from New Jersey to where we live, and we both, had small businesses we're trying to run. And I reached out in particular to my oldest living sister, who is my mom's current power of attorney. I reached out to her and her husband, who is the other power of attorney, who happens to be a local lawyer, and we're asking them for support. There's 4 grown people in their house that we thought could help us out, whether it's drive with me, you go alone, I won't go this time kind of thing, just anything to relieve us a bit. And it's also, I don't love the responsibility of being fully in control and in a sense of making decisions for my dad, or helping my dad make decisions. it would have felt much more comfortable to have a sibling with me.
Mhm.
And they just weren't available. Whoops, everything okay?
Yes. So your family, your
Oh,
siblings just didn't want to help out at all?
no. And he was up there over 3 years. And then the craziest part, well, a few, he actually came to Frederick, which is where I live, and my sister lives only 12 miles from me. And they could have visited him at my home here. They didn't want to do it. Then he was here another time at the
Mm,
hospital, and the hospital is probably 7 miles from their house.
mm,
They wouldn't even see him in the hospital. Some excuse about babysitting. It was ridiculous.
mhm, mhm,
So they just weren't interested in maintaining a relationship with them until she saw him 6 weeks before he died, and then 2 days before he died. And that was it. After he dies, though, they're all available to come and get belongings they think that he has, including a car, which he owed more on the car than the car was. He was a simple guy. He didn't have money. He was living in a small apartment. There wasn't anything, but they think there might be. So now they're free to come up and help on that end. So we just, again, we're not comfortable. We feel differently about how things should go in a family. They're on one side, my husband and I feel on another side. And I mean, yeah, I felt very hurt and very upset that they don't want to spend time with my dad. It's their dad. And they don't want to spend time assisting my husband and I. It just was very hard to go through that. And then, so he died in 2016. And
mm,
then this started with my mom in 2019. So, May 2019, she's living in a house that she lived in for 40 years. Um, she had a tenant that lived in another part of the house. Um, her best friend is a school teacher a couple houses down that saw her pretty much every day. Um, Very close knit neighbors, lots of people all around her that she enjoyed as friendships, but also to help as needed kind of thing. Um, and in May, unbeknownst to my brother and I, those two sisters that had started back in 2004 with my sister's estate issue, unbeknownst to my brother and I, they move her to a facility, um, sign off on the sale of the house, all four of them, make the house only available for a short period of time. Really, it was a couple of days. So much got thrown away,
mm,
just carried away in dumpsters. And, I'm asking if we can have more time. And we don't care about the furniture, that kind of stuff. I mean, we have a house full of furniture. We just wanted like sentimental items. And we weren't even having time to retrieve those. Um, there were four dumpsters out front. My husband's going in and grabbing pictures that he can get, any report cards. We got lucky in that one of our neighbors, her best friend, the school teacher, kind of sweet talked the painter. And he kind of collected boxes for her
mm,
of those kinds of sentimental items. So we got those from her. But so much was just completely gone. I mean, and I'm the middle of seven, but three had already died. So
mhm,
there's only four of us. And we had those siblings that had died. There's so much more of their stuff in particular I would have wanted to have.
mhm,
One was an avid horseback rider and had all kinds of trophies and awards. And we did get a riding helmet,
mm,
but so much was lost. And we still never found, which meant so much to my mom and me. She had been donating flowers for a very long time to the White House when President Carter was president. Um, and Rosalind Carter had written her a letter thanking her for the donations. Um, no one has it.
Mm,
Completely trashed, disappeared. And to me, that is history. And
mhm,
to me, my mom, that meant so much to her. The White House, her flowers,
mhm.
her flowers after kids were, that's her that's valuable to her. And I was hoping to frame it and get it to her, and it's gone. It's just terrible. I don't even know what else was lost. Because when you're in a house for 40 years, you're not thinking you have to be looking for something so quickly. I
Mhm,
had no time to go through to get much of anything.
mhm. That's so that is so sad when you have all these family memories and then you're not allowed to get them.
Yeah. Did you have something similar? I'm sure you hear plenty of this.
Oh, yes, kind of a vague similar situation, but not what you have gone through, but when a relative had passed, which was my grandparents, apparently they had left, the executor to which would be, I guess, an aunt or so, whatever, and so I really didn't get anything really from the estate except a broken guitar and a broken mandolin.
Oh, and I see your guitar. They must have meant a lot to you. I see you must
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
this
I mean,
beautiful collection in the back.
yeah, my grandfather had a mandolin that was kind of rounded in the back. We don't know what happened to that.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes,
when there's an estate, I think there should be 2 executors. That's just my opinion.
right. Gosh, that is difficult.
Mhm.
Well, and that's another thing. Like, if this sale hadn't had happened overnight so quick, and it, by the way, sold under value, which I keep hearing that's typical. They wanted to move it super fast. We could have had an estate sale, right? Or
Mhm.
the neighbors that would have enjoyed. My mom was made beautiful flowers, her own flowers. She would make arrangements and frame,
Aw.
and she had very creative, and so I grabbed as much as I could, and I have lots here in the basement. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it. I just know I'm not throwing them away.
Mhm.
Um, but she could have felt so proud to be out there with people she knew and didn't know, and they would see. My mother was 93 at the time, and she could have signed off on them, and that would have given her just a feeling of it's going. She knows where her stuff is going, the stuff that she enjoyed and was her artwork to various neighbors. They didn't do that. No estate sale at all.
Mhm.
um, which, if you're good executors of the financial end, normally you would want to do that. The reason they didn't was, I think they needed the money from the sale of the house so quickly. And I think they knew they did wrong by pulling her out of there, and that she'd want to go back. And they had to have the house off limits fast and not
Oh.
available. So it sold it as quick as possible below market value. I mean, and in fact, when we were, as soon as she was in the facility, our first number of days, she's saying, I don't want to be here. It's a jail. Don't put the bird feeder up. I might be able to go home. I mean, she didn't like
Mm.
it. She was a really independent woman in every way. She liked doing her own laundry. She liked cooking. She was loved her artwork. All these things she chose when she did them and enjoyed them. And all of a sudden, her whole schedule shot what she wants to do. You're on the 6 o'clock one pill. You stay in bed that will wake you up at 7. Go to breakfast. It's no control. She lost all control overnight. And she just was the sort that prided herself on how well she took care of herself. And now she has no say in what she's doing and when she's going to do it. And I mean, for other people, it probably wasn't as drastic or dramatic, but she was in a house that she loved, again, with a tenant that could have come into the main part of the house. She
Mhm.
loved gardening. She was gardening. We saw her 2 days before they moved her. Now, we didn't know they were going to move her. So we're gardening. She loves transplanting for us. So she's out there, big smiles. I have pictures. She's, pulling out her flowers for us to put in the car to bring home. Um, the garden was her life. She kept in touch with all the kids she babysat over years, and now they're coming with their kids. She
Mm.
had cats that she took care of. And, she would think through the day, what special treats are they going to get? She fed them morning and night, and they came every day. It's just like anything that meant anything to
Mhm.
her is now gone. I'm not saying she could have been alone anymore. I'm not saying she should be driving, but there were so many ways to make that house livable for her like she wanted. My brother had gotten her long-term care insurance, and that's because she thinks she's aging in place. And we had so many like resources. We are a big family. We had so many resources, so many close friends that we should have been able to figure out a way to make that a great place for her. I was reading AARP,
Mhm.
90 some percent of seniors want to age in place.
Mhm.
90. And I guarantee you, so they're trying to tell me my mom's in the 10% that want it out when she's the most physically fit, capable woman, gardening, feeding her cats, cooking, still cleaning, full day friends, great network of friends. She was not the 10% that wanted out. She was only needing little reminders like on taking medication and turning off the stove if she cooked. That was pretty much the extent of it.
Mhm.
Um, Showering, bathing, picking out her clothes, all of that 100% capable. Bilingual, still reads, can do word puzzles, beat you in Scrabble. That's how she was when they took her from that house. Um,
Hmm.
I know it wasn't what she wanted, and she made it clear to us right away.
Now she's in this questionable facility, and she's had some facial injuries.
Yeah, it was really bad. So they move her in May 2019. And at least at that point, she has freedom to leave the facility, like go to a plant shop, come to my house, um, some kind of a normal life. We tried to pick things that we knew she wanted to do. What do you want to do? We'd ask, and we take, go out for a couple few hours. That filled her heart.
Mm.
We got to see what she got to choose. She had control, and she got to do what she wanted to do. And then by December, so 8 months later, they stop her from leaving the facility. She's already locked inside the facility. And they're putting notes on the doors, on the windows, that you are not to take Mrs. Daniels from the facility. And when my husband and I would be visiting, if my sister called, she would have my mom read the notes to her like a child, like humiliating that my mother has to read a note out loud to my sister saying you're not permitted to leave the building. So only 8 months of kind of normal, and then that happens. And then by March, COVID kicks in. So that's March 2020. So for 14 months, she's locked inside a facility. Um, Devastating statistics. State of Maryland, 61% in facilities died. Her facility were positive at least 50% died. At one point in my county, Frederick County, they were showing the numbers at not or 85. So again, I can understand. Sadly, we've had friends that had no other options for their aging parents because they needed such extensive services. My mother didn't need any
Mhm.
at all. At all. A reminder, yes, nothing else. She could literally like playfully run down a hall. It was crazy. They were leaving her
Mhm.
there. She was coming to the window. We have video of her begging to leave with us,
Mhm.
complaining my sister has her checkbook, and all we can do is try to make her feel calm because I don't have permission to get her out. I don't. And I've signed off. We don't want any money. It's not about money. It's just we have a safe house, a house she loves. We have dogs. She loves dogs. We live on a cul-de-sac. It's a perfect place. Trails behind our home. garden, like all the
Mhm.
things that she loves. And she loves kids, and I'm in a cul-de-sac, so the kids hang out and play. She could have just had a normal life here and safe. Even isolation is deadly. I mean,
Oh, yes.
coroners said cause of death, failure to thrive in isolation.
Mhm.
So on top of these 61% and 50-year hearing, they're also dying not just from the COVID. And they refuse to take her out. They refuse to let us take her out. So they keep their own mother in that setup for 14 months. And right before the official lockdown was over, something happened, and I don't know exactly what,
Mhm.
but her face, I mean, it is just completely battered,
Mhm.
blue, eyes, nose. And we went to the facility every day to see her at her window. She's not in her room, and they're supposed to be in quarantine. So we knew if she's not in her room, something's wrong. So finally, a nurse can tell us. They took her by ambulance to the hospital. We call my sister. They don't return our calls. We go to the hospital. They let us see my mom. They're asking me, is anyone there? Anyone else there? And I tell them the truth. I have no idea. I don't. There's only one person, I guess, per day, but I don't know if anyone else has come. No
Mhm.
one communicated. So they were great about it. They called a supervisor. They let me go up. And it's the worst injury I've ever seen, especially with your mom. And she's like 90 pounds.
Mhm.
And I hadn't seen her in person at that point for 13 months. So this is my first time to see my mom in person, and she's in a bed, literally battered. I have on a face mask, and she still recognized me right away, and she's smiling, and we're smiling, and I'm just saying, like, you're superwoman, you're going to be home soon. Don't
Mhm.
worry, you're going to be okay. And in the meantime, my sister was there, and she comes across the room, her usual, and is like leaning over and physically intimidating me and my mom. She's going to cause a problem. So I pretty much don't let her get to that point. And
Mhm.
I just tell my mom I love her, and I leave.
Oh.
So then the next day, we try to go back. We call, they say she's not there. We try to go in the hospital. They can't tell us where she is. So basically, I have no information about what are they saying about my mom's injuries. Now I don't know where my mother is. So they moved her somewhere in the hospital for 2 days. They completely hid her. And my husband is following her car in the parking lot, thinking, I mean, it's parked, but he's trying to find out, is the car here, or is it at the facility, or where is the car? We're tracking the car trying to find out where my mom might be. So we don't know. We didn't know if she's still there. Is she still truly? We
Yeah.
questioned, like, we're thinking she has to be alive. They would have to tell us if she's not alive. But now I see, they wouldn't have even told us then, because they're hiding her now, and I don't know.
Mhm.
So my husband goes back to the facility, and he does find her in her room and takes those pictures. And all she can tell us is she remembers being on the floor and had a bloody nose. She doesn't remember any more than that. She thinks she got back in bed, and I'm assuming they found her then the next morning. But the part that we can't get any information about is, I want to know what drugs were in her body, because all these residents have been over medicated even before COVID be here, and definitely during COVID, because they need you to pass out. They don't have any staff. They want you to be compliant and go to bed so that
Mhm.
they have no work to do. So I don't know if she was majorly over medicated and she fell, but again, to me, that face doesn't look like a fall. And 2 days before it, my mom's always been intimidated there by staff, but not physically. Like, she might be I've never seen her recoil, but 2 days before that fall, when my husband and I were there, a woman came into the room and my mom was so scared. She was like shriveling, like literally wanted to like disappear and like shaking her leg. She was nervous, very nervous. And I mean, there's no way she could hide it. I've never seen my mom do that. And I thought, this is not good. I don't like her feet. Something was off. My mother felt afraid of that woman.
Mhm.
Janice Grenadier. Oh, so sorry.
That's okay.
So then we go back and I never see that woman again ever. I don't know where she get fired because something happened. My sisters give us no report. And the other thing, they were so desperate to get her back in that facility, beat up like she looked. They left her bracelet on. They didn't even take off her hospital bracelet. All they wanted to do was shove her back in there. And again, so she goes back in there scared, her face like that in the mirror by herself, locked down COVID. And why do they have to do that? They didn't. She could have stayed with me. She could have stayed with them. She could have stayed with any family member. Instead, they just don't care. There's no way in 2 days they properly investigated what happened. And they were willing to keep my mother still there. And they left her there. And then we would see, and I have pictures, videos. She has switchblades coming to the window with switchblades and hammers, knives, loose pills. And in the meantime, I'm trying the legal avenue, nothing's happening. So I start going public on their facility's Facebook page. And I called out the doctor basically for civil rights violation. Oh, I haven't gotten to that part yet, but after the facility was officially open, which would have been about a month later, everyone is free to leave the facility except my mother. Per the power of attorney, per Dr. Stone, and per the executives at the facility. They're literally continuing to hold her like a prisoner. No one else, only my mom. So I went on their Facebook page and called him out for violating my mother's rights. And it's basically the letters written as if my sister wrote it. He's basically saying he's following my sister's directions and keeping my mother a prisoner. So I continued to call him out and he was soon gone. I don't know why, if it was me or some other reason, but and then a lot of other ex-staff and other people that had residence there saw my posting and they contacted me. I have pictures of staff drinking, the top executives literally drinking, groping. I have reports of medicine carts being left unlocked. I have a report. This is one of the daughters of her father was in the memory care unit. And when you're in memory care, it's very sad. By the time you're in memory care, you have very little control of your body. You kind of have to wait for people to help you. And they're saying he crawled out his own window and was found by a bypasser. Doesn't make any sense. And here's the thing, my family doesn't care about any of it. Nothing. They see the videos, the pictures, the knives, the pills, her face. Nothing matters to them. They don't take her out of the facility. So she's still in lockdown in the facility. She's only allowed to go out with the power of attorneys because they can control her, or staff because they control her. No place else. She can't even walk the grounds to water her own plants. She has a bird feeder out her window. They won't let her fill a bird feeder. I mean, we have our attorney telling me to have your mom directly ask the executives, because initially my mom was saying to us, let's go out and fill a bird feeder. I mean, she grew up in a farm in Puerto Rico. This is a woman, her whole life is outside. Animals, birds, we had horses at home, we had goats when I was a kid, and we lived in a residential area. And here we are with goats because that's my mom, and we had ducks and chickens. So that is her whole life, is outdoors. So
Mhm.
they won't even let her go outside. And um, oh, so my mom would ask us every day when we'd come in, "Kid, let's go outside of the bird feeder," and I'd have to distract her or say tomorrow because they wouldn't let us.
Mhm.
So finally, my attorney said, "You let your mom ask directly." Like my husband and I would say, "Oh, my mom, Mrs. Daniels wants to go to the bird feeder," and
Mhm.
they'd say no. So my attorney says, "Have your mom go," because she's asking us. She's completely with it.
Mhm.
So we went down and my mom asks them and they say no. And I get written up for causing a problem, basically, that they had
Oh,
told me no, and how dare I have the nerve to then bring my mother to ask. And that's me, they have a list of all these things I'm supposedly breaking. Um, because I'm sure you hear all this. They're completely complicit. They
mhm.
want beds full. They know who controls the money, and it's not me.
Mhm.
They want to do whatever the POAs say, no matter what it does to their residents.
Mhm.
So then they took her phone away.
Mhm.
Mid-July, they took her phone, so she's like more isolated than ever.
Yeah, this is the pattern from what I'm getting from everybody else as they start isolating. Ah,
I don't know why it's allowable, but I know it happens all the time. I mean, now obviously I know you, and I'm in groups of what I call the movement.
mhm.
I mean, we initially thought it was just us, like my husband, myself, and mom. And then about a little over a year ago, I started connecting with other people. It is really a script. I
Yeah.
mean, they follow the same script. They make you look like they defame you. They act like you've done something horrifying to deflect from their own behavior as they violate the residents' rights.
Mm.
And I don't know, you probably, no, I wouldn't have said here. So they did to me what they do to everyone. I got a fake protective order.
Mm.
So I am at my mom's. It was on the books, pre-approved visit. It's COVID, you can't just have people all there. So I had to schedule it. It's on the books. I'm there. Prior to that, my husband and I have been wearing whistles now
Mhm.
because my sister and her husband are so aggressive that we're wearing whistles to protect ourselves, to the point that we've written 2 letters to their attorney before this day I'm going to get back to, because they would stalk us in the car in the parking lot. Literally. Another time, my husband and I are at my mom's window. I'm in mask because I know my mom's going to open the window.
Mhm.
We're at the window. My sister comes up, reaches within inches of my shoulder, unmasked, and slams on my mother's glass. And I said a cuss word and I moved away. I mean, it was really just to intimidate me,
Mhm.
her sense of entitlement that she's there now. She wants to go. You all need to go. Get out of my way.
Mhm.
Um, and so we go away because I'm not going to cause, again, I don't want my mom to see this crazy behavior. So they
Mhm.
step and wait in the parking lot. And my sister then brings my mother in this most ridiculous argument through a window screen saying, "Brenda cussed, da 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 da." It's ridiculous. Like there was no need for it. And why did Brenda say a cuss word? Because Lynn came up when we're there and slams behind my shoulder. You don't have to bring your mom into that. She's been locked in this
Mhm.
facility and isolated. What, she needs to not even be there. And now you're going to put this burden on her. It was just constant. It was really, anything that they were doing is what they would say we would do. For
Mhm.
example, they kidnapped my mother from her home. They kidnapped her from the hospital and hid her. I was, they constantly said I was going to kidnap her, never attempted. If I had wanted to kidnap my mom, we've got her at that window screen with her legs up here. There's videos of her begging to leave. I could have easily pulled her right through there.
Mhm.
I mean, she wanted out. So, I mean, it's
Mm.
ridiculous to make these kind of allegations. And Again, it's not uncommon.
Right.
So, oh, getting back to, so the day I'm in her room, I've got the door propped open. She's at the end of the hall, and I want to be able to hear what's going on in the hall, as always now. And she's coming down, my sister, when I had the pre-approved appointment at mom's. I don't know if she bypassed security or they let her, but so she comes to the room, toward the room, and I lock her out to protect myself and my mom. I'm not going to have these arguments and physical confrontation in front of my mom. Again, my mother's this big. My sister's very intimidated when she gets pissed for no reason when she brought it on herself. But I wasn't going to allow it to happen, so I locked her out. She called the police, who came out. No report is even written. No charges were filed. I'm not asked to leave the facility. He says it's a civil matter. I actually stayed and walked my mom to the for dinner before I left. So nothing happened. Police say nothing, nothing's written. Talk to my attorney, and she's like, let them cool down, don't go. And we're like, okay, we won't. Oh, because the next day we get a letter, their attorney to my attorney, saying that I locked my mom out. And I'm saying, yeah, I did lock my mom out, and that Brenda and Doug are banned from the facility. So even their own attorney is only saying that I locked my sister out. There's no mention of me harming, touching, doing anything to her or my mother. 6 days later, that now becomes that I have assaulted her, and that she's extending it for my mother, on my mother as well. Not true. So we go to court. Luckily, the judge cleared me 100% of my mother, and I was to see my mother. There were no reason to keep me from my mother. Unfortunately, I did get the PO. The PO stuck against my sister, and that was wrong, and that's horrible because it's not true. But I didn't want to be around her anyway. I had never been trying to be around her. So even though I'm cleared to see my mom, they banned me still and my husband. So we'd only been seeing her from May till mid-July. After all those months of lockdown, I'm now only seeing her from May to July, and then July we're banned again. And that then they take her phone to cut us off more. So I can't see her. I can't talk to her. Nobody can reach her. Her Southern Maryland friends can't reach her. She's not allowed to go out the building with anybody. It's just crazy. And then getting mixed up on the sequence. Oh, and then I did get on what's called an ADA advocate. I don't know, do you know Janice Grenadier? Okay, so she's an ADA advocate, and we go to court to try to do what you call modification of visiting, which in a way, that wasn't really, to think about it, there was no need. Bless you.
Thank you.
Because I could have seen my mom. My husband could have picked up my mom. A mutual friend could have picked up my mom. Like, there was no reason to make it modification, because I don't have to have interaction with my sister. Someone else could have. Oh, I forgot a big part. So what happened was they're banning us. We're seeing her through the window. Bless you. You're getting over a cold, or you're getting one.
I don't know why I'm sneezing.
Oh.
Go ahead, though.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm wondering if you had allergies. So we're sitting her at her window. My husband keeps trying to get the facility to let us go in because we have this directive from a Judge Schaefer. Judge Schaefer, Brenda's clear, we're coming in. We did go in Thanksgiving. It was terrible. They told us, 3 employees told us we had to leave in front of my mother, as my mother's saying, now, wait a minute, this is this shy woman who doesn't feel comfortable standing up to people. That Thanksgiving, she's like telling them, why do they have to leave? I don't want them to leave. And they're making up excuses. And again, my husband and I don't want to put my mom through any kind of arguments or uncomfortableness. So we just politely leave. So we saw her Thanksgiving for about 10 minutes. And then finally, like on December 23rd, my husband got the facilities executive to say we could see my mom in person. It was persistent. And finally, she's like, oh, okay, okay. So we saw her December 23rd, 2021. And then, of course, my sister's furious that the facility stopped backing her, and she pulled my mom the next day. And that's mom has been gone since December 24th. I saw her December 23rd. They took her out the next day. And in my mind, I was finally going to be able to see her in person every day. And
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
they're unconscionable. I mean, really, there's no, and the thing is, the part that stays the word on me, they don't like my husband and I for many years because we haven't approved of what they've done. We got in their way. But to know that my mom wants to see us, and now to let my mom wonder where have we been? Did we abandon her? She was abandoned at the age of 4.
Oh no.
Yes, they don't care. So, and she honestly, she loves my husband so much. I mean, she's known him since he was 14 and we're 60s now. He was my high school sweetheart. We spent a lot of time at our house and they're just hilarious together. So she just lost both of us at the same time. And I don't know if they said we don't have time to see her anymore, or we don't care about her anymore.
Have you filed
her heart?
Have you filed a missing person report?
That's how we got in trouble, which made no sense to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so okay, so we went. So December 24th, my mom's missing. I don't know where she is. So in February, we filed what's called a modification plan to see her, which I now realize was a joke because first of all, it was a secret court. My attorney, their attorney go into chambers. My friends, the ADA advocate, don't even hear what happens. They basically come, it's not even allowable in Maryland, but I mean, obviously it happens all the time in these cases. So they do whatever they're going to do in this private room. They come out and very casually just say, your mom's not at your sister's anymore, which not that we ever knew that she was truly there.
Right.
But now she's not there and you don't have to know where she is. So I know, insane. So that's what that judge decides, that a daughter doesn't need to know where her own mother is.
Oh man, that's terrible.
It is terrible. And
Who
I
was
just, at that point, I thought it wouldn't be this long. Like I figured it would just be a little longer. I didn't expect it to be 12 months now. So Janice, the AD advocate, has been through so many similar cases. This is kind of what she does. And she wrote a letter to the judges, the attorneys involved, basically calling them out for the secrecy. Maryland has open courts. That wasn't open court. She's also questioning the behavior of everyone, including my brother-in-law, who was he's an attorney. It's, these situations are already screwed up as it is. And then you toss in a local attorney. His whole entire practice is here over 30 years. He knows everyone. I mean, they have so much power and control, and he's actually in the kind of lawyering that's would hurt us the most, which is commercial real estate, land development growth. So all the politicians need my brother-in-law. So it just wasn't. Can you see him? Oh, I guess not. Oh, okay. My big Doberman standing here.
Oh no, I don't see him.
Oh, okay, he's below the screen. He's getting pets. If you hear a
Oh,
bark,
there he is. Oh,
okay, you may hear a bark, and that's him.
that's okay.
He's a Velcro dog. He thinks he should get all the attention.
Oh, wow.
So,
This
oh,
is terrible.
Janice writes this letter, and we know it did some good
Hmm.
because two of the attorneys that were connected to them aren't with them anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think they knew what they were doing. If you can't say it's illegal, it's definitely unethical.
Hmm.
But they really want to be known as the attorneys that kept a daughter her mother's final years at age 96. That's what they want their legacy to be in this county. So I think it made them very uncomfortable, and they are gone. The other thing my attorney brought up, I'm going to just say, my sister is not mentally well,
Hmm.
and it's documented. And
Well,
for my brother-in-law to be the POA and an attorney, and to have allowed her to stay on board, that's unethical. There's something very wrong there.
mhm. Well,
Um,
only personality disorders would alienate family members.
so yeah, right. So I mean, yes, even without me saying that, I guess people would be aware of that. That's exactly it.
Mhm.
And so they've kept this up. And so after the fake court proceeding, we did a peaceful protest at the courthouse with the help of Janice. Actually, Janice's idea. We made flyers, missing flyers.
Mhm.
I reached out to a friend. He's actually in law enforcement. He's the friend in the first situation in May 2019 that was able to find out where my mother was, because he finally called my sister late at night. My mother had been missing the entire day. My brother and I couldn't find her. So I reached out to a long-term friend that's in law enforcement that loves my mother. It's like her son.
Mm.
And he finally called my sister, and she returned his call. So he told us where my mother was in May 2019. So in any case, my mom's missing again now. So I reached out to him again. I said, I know you want to see mom too, and I don't know where she is. Can you call my sister? So he did, and that got called third party harassment.
Oh,
So I got third party harassment charges for him calling, that I had peaceful protests, that I had flyers, and something else. I can't recall off the top of my head, but they have said those things constituted harassment and broke my original PO. And it wasn't just now my sister against Brenda Daniel. They made it the state of Maryland
oh,
against. I mean, it was literally terrifying. Oh, and what the part I left out, which again, I try to do everything what I think is normal and in the law when a person's missing. So I had called the police to open an investigation, and they told me because she's not missing, she's missing to you, but she's not missing. They can't do it. But what they suggested, and they actually initiated the first call for me, they called the local sheriff's department, who did a wellness check. That initiation of an investigation and the wellness check, that also got used against me somehow, that's harassing my sister, when they had full control just to tell me where she is. And I thank God had a great criminal attorney.
oh my God.
There's criminal charges against me from the state of Maryland. I mean, it was, I'm 63. I don't even have right now a speeding ticket.
Hmm.
It's just crazy. Like I'm some kind of criminal.
Hmm.
So we go to court. He worked magic and he got it put on what's called a stet. So it's on a stet docket, which means it's not a criminal charge. It'll eventually be gone. However, what's upsetting to me, again, at 63, I can never get rid of this PO. So for the rest of my life, if you look me up, it looks like I was violent to somebody at some point in my life.
Ugh.
And I mean, that makes me sick, but I can't make, it doesn't go away. There's nothing. And I do say it's fortunate I don't have to apply for jobs and give references. They're going to check my
Mhm.
background. I would never get hired.
Mhm.
Luckily, I'm self-employed, and my clients all know. I've been open about it. I mean, they know
Right.
I'm not the person that they're describing,
Oh
but
my
it's just
goodness.
gross.
Oh,
So I really, we've done the PI thing. We've had multiple attorneys. My last attorney, we were feeling somewhat hopeful. We actually hadn't hired him. We kind of talked in advance about options, sounded like some real good ones. We go in there, all of a sudden, they don't want any options. They only want to do guardianship. I can't do guardianship.
mm-mm.
My sister's already ignored the directive that I should see my mother from one judge. I'm not going to get guardianship, number one. Number two, that we know is so corrupt, and they know every judge, every attorney. They're just not going to let me, even if a judge on paper says I could see my mother, they're going to lag and drag it out, and we're going to have to go to court and try to get them to let me see my mother. And my mom's 96, and these proceedings take forever. So
Mm.
no point. There's absolutely no point to do this. So that is, I don't know a solution right now. I am hoping that they are seeing that I'm just going to keep talking about this publicly. My husband and I have nothing, we're not hiding anything. We have repeatedly asked for family meetings, uh, official mediations. They won't do it because, I mean, we have this expression, if you have nothing to hide, hide nothing. That's how my
Right.
husband are. They can't do it because they're hiding stuff. And I think they expected my husband and I to be worn down by now and just stop and continue on, and that nothing would happen, no one would know. But that is impossible. I mean,
Oh,
I want to see my mom before she dies. And
wow.
it's been a year, and I don't know if she's going to really realize that it's us
Mm.
or what she thinks of us. Like, does she feel angry that she thinks we left her on purpose? And again, she was not when I saw her, she was 95. She can beat you in Scrabble and she's
Mm.
fine. But a whole year of confusion and a whole nother year of being old and the pressure of her child disappearing, I don't know what that does to her. I don't know if she's going to know me, and they don't care. I don't know. I have a feeling I'm not going to know when she dies.
Oh,
I'm not going to be at any funeral. And I'm not going to know where they bury her.
oh my God.
I really don't know.
Shame on them. I'm so sorry. Mm. You know, how, I'm sure you have people trying to contact you on your Facebook.
Yes,
And how how else can people contact you? Can they email you?
that'd be great. Do it to Go Terps. So it's GOTERPS. Go Terps 123 at AOL.com.
Okay. Well, I'd like to have you back on for an update.
I hope I have some good news.
Definitely. Well, hey, don't jump off. Slam the Gavel's a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Brenda and other exciting guests. Thank you so much, Brenda, for all this information.
Sure. Thank you for letting me speak about it, get it out there.
Mhm.
Awareness, somebody might know, or somebody might hear this, might put pressure on my family producer. Maybe they're going to be more nervous, legal avenue,
Mhm.
anything, whatever it takes. If it can help me find her, would be great.
You know, you should be able to see her. There's no reason why you can't.
Thank you.
Okay, hang on.